Stephen, that has to spell pretty decent gross profit margins for Lennar.
For Toll Brothers, and
I'm sorry, for Toll. Yes, go ahead.
And for sure, the rest of the home builders as well, because they all basically build their homes out of the same stuff. And, this is one of the reasons why I have been so surprised that most of my competitors seem to be modeling margins for next year to be flat to down. In my conversations with investors, I very frequently get asked about whether or not we're looking at peak margins right now. And I would say it's not peak margins you should be thinking. You should be thinking peak lumber. Peak lumber is running through the P&Ls of these builders because they flow through the P&L on a lag. They use the wood when they're in the early stages of building the house, but then they don't close the house, finish the house, and then turn the keys over to the homeowner until, in many cases, 2 quarters later. So really the back half of this year, kind of what we're looking at right now, is incorporating peak lumber cost. The benefit that Doug Yearley was talking about is going to benefit all the builders next year, and that's one of the reasons why I'm confident that margins will rise next year instead of declining or being flat.
So that obviously makes sense. I guess my question would be to go back to that average home price sales figure, $860,000. Now, granted, Toll is pretty much, the highest of the high here. But I think the main question people have is whether they can sustain home prices at these levels. And I know you and I have talked about this before, and you think they can. But if they can't, isn't that where the profit margin pressure comes from? So, yes, lumber gives them, $40,000 of wiggle room. But are we really not going to see prices drop in the next year or two?
Yeah, that is something absolutely that is underlying people's cautiousness and skepticism around the margin trajectory next year. They basically say, isn't it the case that the builders raised prices too much? And so therefore, next year, they're going to have to bring those prices back down and things like that. One of the things I would tell you is that really what you've seen with the home prices is largely a function of the fact that supply in the industry has been too low, and as a result, the move that you've seen in home prices, you should look at that as an upward correction, not some sort of an overshoot. The idea that home prices have risen too much and so nobody can afford a home anymore sounds a lot like when Yogi Berra said about a restaurant that nobody goes there anymore because it's too crowded. The home price got to where it is because people bought those homes. And I think you talk to anybody who's trying to buy a house right now, and they are definitely having to outbid other people. So there's certainly a lot of demand and not a lot of supply. And when you have that, guess what? Home prices go up.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.